My wife's guidance. Every day you wake me up at the same time at 3:27 at night, wake me up and play a boring game with me. You tell me to open the door. At that time, I felt afraid and angry. No matter how much I talked to her, she did not respond to me, and her looks were very strange. I couldn't take any more than that. Honestly, I took the pillow and blanket and left this room. It was the fourth night in a row that you woke me up in the same way. And at the same time, I went out and sent a message to my old friend. He is now a psychiatrist who can explain what is happening. But his answer shocked me. Is it dangerous? You decided to tell him everything? The story started with 4 timepieces. We were asleep and Hoda woke me up at exactly 3:27, and her strange game began. Her thought that day was that she woke up to a nightmare and she needed us to reassure her. But she decided on her usual word. Open the door. So I finished the stupid game with her. And I told her, who's at the door? Hoda. But she laughed strangely and told me, not me. My consciousness opens. After her mysterious reply, she fell asleep as if nothing had happened. The second day in the morning, it was very normal until it came at 3:27. The metals were normal. Hoda woke up from her sleep and repeated the same topic. The doctor responded to me and said to me, are you sure it is Hoda, your wife? His question was a shock to me, but he advised us. Install surveillance cameras and see. I may be surprised, need you. After some thought at the end, curiosity triumphed, and the cameras mounted. At this time, Hoda suddenly appeared without saying a word. Since then, our relationship has been very tense on this day. I couldn't sleep because of too much thinking and insomnia. My nerves were very tense. I felt like I was locked in a loop that was repeating itself without end. Honestly, my patience has run out. And Al-Muradi repeated to act. I tied Hoda very tightly to the bed and put a mask on her bug. I wanted to see if she would be able to sleep like a normal person without playing her boring game. The house was eerily quiet, except for the steady chimes of the clock. I didn't know how to sleep. That's why I decided to review the camera footage, and what I saw made my blood freeze with terror. Hoda was acting as if she was a puppet of someone other than the one I knew. At that time, I was sure that it was Hoda. Hoda was no longer Hoda, and worse than that, it stayed inhuman. Surprised, I heard a knock on the door and Hoda's voice saying, open, I am Hoda. I opened the cabin in front of the door to make sure, and I saw her standing crying and tricking me into opening the door. At the time, I was at the height of fear. If this is really guidance, Amal, who is sleeping inside the bed? Hoda appeared eerily a few steps away, standing looking at me with a terrifying look. Then I wrote to my doctor friend and told him what happened, and he told me about tools to help me confront it, and he sent me a high-frequency audio file. I quickly loaded the file and grabbed a UV detector. The ghost was trying to stop us. I opened the door and he appeared in his true form. As soon as the searchlight rang, he came at him. He started to burn him. At that time, I remembered what the doctor said to me between 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the morning. The difference between the two worlds is disappearing, but the real guidance had to be saved before it was too late. From the door they opened with him very strongly, as if it were the gate of Ben Alamein. I held my breath, ready for any new creature to appear. Moments later, everything disappeared. Hoda returned to her normal again. Hoda, I miss you so much. I miss you too, Grandpa. How many years ago I was moved to a new house after my wife died in a difficult accident, and our son Adam was still very young. At that time, it was always her dream to thank for a new home in a peaceful city. That's why I did my best to fulfill her dream, even after her death. The issue took me how many years until I was able to fulfill my wishes. Adam's grandmother was very old. That's why I decided to get her to live with us on our first day in the new house. Doorbell rang. I went to the door and asked who it was before opening. Was it her? A strange voice from behind the door said they wanted to welcome a new friend. The voice was scary, which made me not open the door. I thanked him and said, "Sorry, I'm busy, I can't open it." He replied in a scary tone, "I don't mean to bother you, but let me warn you. This house is crucial to my family and has been under our guardianship since my grandfather. Now I'm responsible for it, and after I die, my son will take over." I angrily replied, saying I don't know you and won't leave the house. I wished he'd leave before I called the police. Ali calmly told me, "Okay, I'm sure I'll see you and your family soon." I opened the door and I was very upset, but he was gone. A few days later, strange things started happening. I always felt that someone was watching me, and I would see him moving around the place, and I would hear scary sounds. The strange thing is that no one in my family heard or saw anything, to the point that I felt like I was going crazy, and that's why I installed surveillance cameras everywhere and connected them with the mobile phone. Exactly 3 weeks later, I was sitting in my office drinking coffee, and I turned on the camera on the mobile phone, but it caught my attention that the camera in Adam's room was not working. I looked at the rest of the cameras, but the strange thing is that Adam is not visible in any moon, but his grandmother was in the kitchen. I called her and asked her about Adam. She told me she would see him and come back to talk to me. Honestly, I didn't tell anyone about our strange neighbor who came to us on the first day. None of them are afraid. As I turned on the camera, it caught my eye that the microphone was on, and I heard the scary voice of a neighbor saying, "The house chose you, Adam, because of your father's greed." And then I heard Adam's voice as he was distracted. Along, I got out of the office and ran to the house, called the police on the way, and told them everything. I tried to call Adam, but she wouldn't answer. As soon as the Arabic vehicle, I was the camera operator on the mobile, and it was taking all my attention. It was the only camera that was still working. The camera that was on the staircase showed Adam's grandmother slowly climbing the staircase, and with her appeared the voice of the observer talking to Adam and telling him that you must know that the house and its private life are a big secret. He inherited my family from the days of my Agadi. The house refuses your presence, but don't worry, I have a way to help you. This method was chosen by your father. You can be a part of the house forever. From so much anxiety, my fear ran faster and faster, and I couldn't take my eyes off the camera. Suddenly, my thoughts came out loud. When I looked on the road, my car collided with another car. Everything happened quickly, and the last thing on my mind as I passed out was my son Adam. And then 1 second, everything disappeared. I opened my eyes and found myself in the hospital. The nurse was there, and when she noticed that I was up, she called the police. After a while, 2 police officers appeared in front of me, and when I asked them, "What happened? I still have what is left in the hospital," she told me, "Calm down. You lost consciousness for 3 days due to the incident." I asked them about Adam, found him, and they told me, unfortunately, the 2 were victims at the hands of your murderous neighbor. But we caught him. She was telling him in all the details, but my contract was not with her after what I heard, and a few days later I returned home. There was no trace of anything in it. Sadness was gripping the place horribly, and all I could think of was the sight of Adam dying at the hands of the observer. I entered the computer surveillance cameras after my mobile phone was lost in the accident, and all I could see was from the only camera that was working when the monitor came out of Adam's room and acted like his grandmother and threw her down the stairs, and as soon as the police arrived, he surrendered without any resistance. After I finished reviewing the cameras, I looked out the window and saw the observer standing on the sidewalk and looking up at me. I noticed that he was not the same person, but someone else had the same conviction. It is clear that this person is his son, exactly as he told me that the house has been under their care since the days of his grandparents. I could not bear more than that. I thought about suicide once, but in the end I decided that he would not give up my family's rights. I bought gasoline and blew up the house where everything happened. The story happened about 10 years ago. Deep wood was widely used and many young people were into it. One of my friends used to access it constantly, and when he talked to me about it, I repeated the payment the next day and I opened the deep web and did not know how to use it. I called my friend Omar to help me, and once he arrived, he started teaching me. We were able to connect to sites that sell anything illegal. Then a link caught our attention that said, "Watch this." We opened the link and it was a black screen. Suddenly it turned into a live video. The problem is that the video was on the same street as the house. We found a piece of paper that said, "I want to see something cool." I replied to him in chat and told him I agree. Suddenly he began to move around the place until he reached the house. This was right in front of my house. Then he started moving until he entered the house. The place was very unjust, frighteningly, and we heard the sound of a dam opening. The room was lost and nothing was visible except a dog food plate. And moments later, we saw the person putting dirty food on the plate. Then we heard another door open. There was the sound of a girl crying. Surprise! The girl appeared in front of the camera with a chain tied around her neck. The biggest man eats from the dog's plate. The screen went black again. Omar and I couldn't believe what we saw, but we noticed that the broadcast was still on until suddenly the camera came back again. This time it was filming my house, and there was a piece of paper with my exact address written on it. And I saw a second one written on it, "Open the door." Omar and I were sitting very afraid and not knowing how to think until we heard the sound of the door banging. I took the mobile phone and we ran to the back door of the house to escape from it. But we heard the sound of someone knocking on the motel door as well. At that time we were trapped and did not know what to do. We called the police and locked ourselves in my room until the police arrived. I told them everything that happened, and I told them the location of the house where the girl was. And when she arrived, we learned that she was 14 years old and had been kidnapped for 5 weeks. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so that we can reach 1,000 subscribers, and watch the past episodes and wait for the next episode. Hello.